Yes, sir.
Given the current state of affairs and the issues that have come out
That one's empty, and I like a couple of
just provide some general commentary on
Sure. The question is about what's going on in the Middle East. First of all, let me kind of walk you forward. You know, a year ago, what was happening in the Middle East? Arab Spring. Everyone was celebrating Tahrir Square and talking about how democracy was now going to appear in the Islamic world. But there were those of us that said, you know, we kind of understand history. We kind of know that there's some bad actors over there, like the Muslim Brotherhood. And where do we find ourselves today in Egypt? We find ourselves in a country, Egypt, that 78 to 80% of the parliament is now controlled by radical Islamic groups and the Muslim Brotherhood. We find ourselves dealing with an Egypt that last week said that if we cut off the $1.2 billion of aid that we provide them, that they would in turn attack Israel. We find ourselves with the Muslim Brotherhood that in 1 year, 4 Iranian naval war vessels have transited through the Suez Canal, something that did not happen for the previous 40 years. We don't know who's in control of Libya, but we do know that the people that were quote-unquote the freedom fighters in Libya, we now know that they were Al-Qaeda, who had fought against our soldiers in Iraq. We know that now in Syria, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is there, and Al-Qaeda is backing up the freedom fighters. And in between all of this chaos, and in between all of this mess, is a tiny sliver of freedom, liberty, and democracy that we call Israel. It has a bullseye on it. Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu, they have to make the decision to protect their people. The question in the Middle East right now is the United States of America going to back Israel? Israel has the capability and capacity to be able to do what needs to be done, but they're going to need the clearance of air routes, they're going to need aerial refueling, and they're going to need the proper type of munitions, the deep penetrating bunker buster munitions that we have here in the United States of America. The question is, are they going to be able to do that? I'm very concerned about the fact when the Secretary of Defense comes out and kind of lets the cat out of the bag and says that Israel is thinking about doing this, because now already people are castigating Israel as the bad guy in this whole thing. That's part of the propaganda war that we should not allow to happen. We totally misread what is going on in the Middle East. This is not about a freedom movement. It's about a chaotic situation that happens, that continues to happen all across that part of the globe, being it in Somalia, being in Yemen, and the next thing you know, you have radical Islamic groups that take over. But the critical thing that you need to understand, you can close your eyes. Think back to the late 1970s. Shah of Iran, Hosni Mubarak. Iran, Egypt. Ayatollahs, Muslim Brotherhood. Hostages in the American embassy, hostages now in Egypt. History has a very bad way of repeating itself for those who do not pay attention to it. And that's exactly what is happening in the Middle East. Israel is not leaning towards supporting the United States of America anymore. And we, unfortunately, enabled it to happen because we thought of something that was occurring really was not occurring. There's no such thing as a... I still know how to march. There's no such thing as an Arab Spring. It's an Arab nightmare. And now we've got to try to contend with it. In the meantime, we have the smallest naval force since World War I. We're cutting back about 40 to 45,000 Marines. We're taking the Army down from 45 combat brigades to 32 combat brigades. We're losing, I think, 7 to 8 Air Force fighter squadrons. We're going to lose about 9 other Navy combat ships. 70% of the mass of the Earth is ocean. And we're cutting back. Yes, sir.
I think everybody in this room is on message thanks to your leadership.
I'm honored you say that.
The question is, does Speaker of the House Boehner and Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, are they on message? Are they giving us the lead?
Where is that camera? Look, I think that there is a problem in Washington, D.C., and I think the problem in Washington, D.C. with the Republican Party is that they don't understand how dire this fight is. And they don't understand the nature of this fight. And that you're going to have to stand on principle. I'll give you a great example, the whole payroll tax debacle. The fact that we are monkeying around and we're destroying Social Security. Once again, it was something that could have easily been mentioned. The fact that, we are using a fee increase on loan guarantees for the government-sponsored enterprises, Fannie, Freddie, FHA. So the first-time home buyers, if you go out a $200,000 home, now you're paying $9,000 to $10,000 of fees over the entire course of your loan to pay for this debacle. We are pushing Social Security off the edge. I think that what we need to understand is there has to be a not compromise with the other side so much, but there has to be a working together based upon principles, and we have to start listening to some of the new people that are up there. And you got to stand for something. And I think that there's a lot of questions out there with people in the Republican Party. Are we going to continue to fight? That's just the bottom line. And I think between the House and the Senate, GOP, we need to come together ourselves. And that's one of the things I'm talking about. What is our way ahead? What's our roadmap for the rest of this year? How do we get on the same sheet of music? How do we get on message? The same with our candidates. All of us need to be singing the exact same tune. And I just think that right now we're kind of like a very disjointed orchestra. No one is on key and on message. I would not want to have the speaker's job right now because he is trying to do something that's never been done. Once upon a time, you had earmarks. And when you have earmarks, you can keep people in line. But now everyone has the free will and ability to do as they wish and speak as they wish. It's very hard to control votes. But I think that if we had a common focus and a way ahead, it would be a lot easier. And we need to pick those 3 to 4 critical policy points where we can win. Now, I will tell you something. 27 pieces of legislation sitting on Harry Reid's desk. Passed out of House of Representatives. All good policy, job creation, what have you. This is good stuff that we're doing. But you know our problem is? We don't talk about it. That's the problem. Every single one of us in the House GOP conference should be saying the same thing every week. And then the next week we'll be on theme for that week. And the next week we'll be on theme for the following week. And we just aren't there. And I think that's the biggest thing. Remember what I said? What is the Republican message? If we could all get together on those 5 points and understand it, we would be a formidable force. Because when you look at the statistics, there's no way that the president should win. There's absolutely no way. But we have allowed him to use the bully pulpit, and with the intellectual dishonesty that he, continues to throw out there. Great example: 1% to 99%. Where's the president going to be tomorrow? Down in Miami. He's going to come down here. He's going to give a little quick speech, but he's going to be all about fundraising. $30,800 a person dinner. How many Wall Street fundraisers have been done by the president? Where was he last week? The president last week was out there with Hollywood folks. Who's talking? Who is he hanging out with? I put out a little tweet message today that the president tomorrow will be down with his Miami 1% posse. And it's got everyone on Twitter and Facebook laughing. But that's the truth. And we need to be able to come out and say those things. Let me be very honest. If you allow people to box you in because of being afraid, this whole racism thing, they're going to walk all over your grave. You got to stand up on principle. You have to say, this is not about anyone's color. It's about principle. It's about the direction that this country is being taken. Do not let anyone box you in. Don't let Al Sharpton dictate what you want to say.
Can you say anything about our
The question is about the threat from Islam, and really it's a radical Islam. But once again, everyone here needs to study and read the Quran and understand the different phases. The Mecca phase and the Medina phase, and then the post-Medina phase. And when you understand this thing called abrogation, everything in the Quran is quote unquote the word of God. But if you understand abrogation, which is the Arabic word nakish, the later verses supersede the previous verses, but yet they're all still the Word of God. So there's an incredible, impeccable dualism in this thing, because I could say that I love you in the beginning, and then I can come back and say death to you in the end, and it's all okay. So what we have to be able to do is challenge it. Let me give you a great example of the threat that comes about when you don't understand what you're dealing with. This whole thing about the Quran burning in Afghanistan. We came out immediately, started apologizing and everything like that. Well, why were the Qurans burnt in the first place? Because those detainees at Bagram had taken those Qurans and they started writing messages inside the Quran, and they were passing them around. Well, first and foremost, they violated their own principles by writing in the Quran. And by Islamic culture, those Qurans are supposed to be burned. Okay? But what do? We just not understand. We're all of a sudden on the defense, which is the exact same thing that's happening here. There's a phrase that I tell people: when tolerance becomes a one-way street, it will lead to cultural suicide. Citizens for National Security, which is a group that originated right here in Boca Raton, came up there. We gave them the opportunity to give a forum up on Capitol Hill. You will be surprised at the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into our school systems, into our government. You will be surprised at the fact that, think about this, the Iranians working with the Mexican drug cartels, planning to have, kill ambassadors and attack embassies in Washington, D.C. Hezbollah is operating openly in the tri-state region in South America. Missile sites are being in place in Venezuela with the aid of the Iranians. The Al-Quds Brigade of the Iranian army is in Venezuela. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad 6 weeks ago was 90 miles away from Florida in Cuba. And we're not talking about it. Remember the fifth pillar in our message? Strong national defense, security. And we're not talking about it. How many people here know what Scarabeo 9 is? Scarabeo 9. Scarabeo 9 is the Chinese-made oil rig that was rented out to a Spanish company called Repsol, that is now in place 66 miles off the coast of Florida, that is drilling in waters deeper than Deepwater Horizon, and this platform does not meet any standards of American oil rig platforms. 66 miles off our coast. Now, you know what is somewhat disconcerting for me? It was being in place during the time when all of our candidates were here in Florida during the Florida primary. You never heard one of them mentioned. What were they busy doing? Beating up on each other. Think about how powerful that would have been if you talked about how the Secretary of Interior, Ken Salazar, and the Obama administration had provided technical guidance and advice and expertise to have the Scarabeo 9 platform in place 66 miles off of our coast. But yet, the same administration said you could not have the Keystone XL. That's a winner. And look at where gas prices are now. That's a message. Energy independence is part of national security. It's part of our free market. It's part of our economy. It's part of getting Americans back to work. You've got to know your message. Scarabeo 9, look it up. Because if there is an incident, our beaches are done. And there's nothing we can do about it because they're in quote-unquote Cuban waters. But if you understand slant drilling technology, hopefully you guys know what that is. Underneath the water, 40 miles is the maximum you can slant drill. They will be in our outer continental shelf pulling out oil and natural gas from the United States. If there's an oil spill, there's nothing you can do about it. As a matter of fact, we had a hearing down here 2.5, 3 weeks ago with the head of the Transportation Department and the Coast Guard. I was getting briefed by the Coast Guard about the potential of an oil spill down here. And now we're just not talking about it. But did you hear anything about that hearing? No. And there were tons of media there. But remember, the other thing, every one of us is a media source. And we put that out as a press release. These are some incredible times. You know, Chinese said, may you live in interesting time. Well, doggone it, we are certainly in interesting times. All right, thank you so much. And enjoy the